Well, delighted to say that we've got none other than John Motson with us this afternoon, a man who's synonymous with the fourth round of the FA Cup. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Mark, and you're quite right. I've got some amazing FA Cup memories. And one thing I've never told anybody, well, people ought to know this, but perhaps I don't mention it very often, is that when I did that famous match at Hereford against Newcastle in 1972, it was in fact a third round replay that had been delayed, and it was played on this day, the fourth round day. So actually, in a way, this is a bit of an anniversary for me to celebrate, because that match in the FA Cup really put me on the road as far as broadcasting was concerned. I was in a year's trial, if you like, on television, having made a little bit of an impact in radio, and that Hereford game was destined, so the match of the day producer thought, to come last in the programme, with Newcastle probably winning 1-0, which of course they were with 5 minutes to go. Lo and behold, along came Ronnie Radford, and then in extra time Ricky George, and those two goals really changed my career, probably changed my life.
Well, there's been many iconic commentaries over the years from you that we all remember. Of course, many of them have been at smaller grounds. Griffin Park here is Farewell Griffin Park time. Just 10 games to go now.
10 to go,
John.
and I'm here.
And you are here.
Well, I was determined to get here before this ground closed. So I'm thrilled that it's a cup tie, and I'm thrilled that while I've been here this morning, I've had a magnificent guidance through the new stadium, where it is in relation to this. I've had a look at it from above at the top floor of one of the offices there. I've seen the development now for what it is. I can talk about it to people, because all the people last night in the pub were asking me, well, why are you going to Brentford, and what's their stadium like, and when's it going to be ready? And now I can answer most of those questions, capacity and that kind of thing, and the premium seats, and brilliant, the visitor centre there. I mean, it really is. I mean, all the technology whereby you can pick your seat on a screen, which I know many people are doing that now, and some of them are wondering whether it might be in the Premier League. Dare I say that? I don't know. Well, I've said it now. So.
We're very much hoping so, John. Yeah. What are your memories of Griffin Park?
Tight ground, very good atmosphere. Even now when I see the goals on television from Griffin Park, the Brentford supporters seem to have that little bit of edge over all the others in terms of how they welcome a goal. I mean, you can see it come through the screen at you, the enthusiasm. And of course, this season, with the success you've had in the Championship, and the BMW, of course, which is catching on now. I mean, in every newspaper I read this morning, there was an article on BMW or Brentford Football Club or whatever's happened here. And I think, of course, a lot of clubs, if they'd lost their manager, like Dean Smith did, and I know you had a bereavement for another member of staff, at a lot of clubs, things might have dipped then. But I think the great thing about Brentford is not only did you stabilise, but you've gone further. And now people are talking about your individual players, your chances of promotion, and of course, it would be lovely if something like that coincided with the new ground, because I can't believe how they fitted that stadium into that space. You know, all those big blocks of flats and those business buildings by Kew Bridge. What a sight! And to build a new ground there. And the other thing I wanted to say, Mark, is that I've experienced in my time as a commentator a lot of clubs moving grounds. But I can't remember, and I may be wrong, but I can't remember a club who got it done so quickly. It only seems like yesterday that somebody said, oh, Brentford are going to move to a new stadium. And when clubs said that before, you thought, oh yeah, I'll believe that in 5 years or 10. And there it is 2 years later after work commenced. There it is now. And from where I saw it this morning, it's nearly ready. And it will be by, well, I know it will be by next season, but, you know, I know you've got lots of open days planned, and there's going to be all sorts of activity and test events and things like that. You've got so much to look forward to here, but we mustn't forget dear old Griffin Park, must we? Because that's where we are today.
Exactly, and it's actually fitting that we're playing Leicester, who was our biggest attendance back in 1949, when we had behind us the massive Royal Oak stand, which was effectively Brentford's Cop. Do you remember that, John?
Well, I can't go back to 49. Was that when Jimmy Hill was playing?
Possibly.
No, I can't go back to 49, but of course I know Brentford had that spell in the top division shortly after the war, and there were some very famous players plied their trade here, actually. Jimmy was one of them, because of course I worked with Jimmy Hill in the BBC a long time after that. But, well, amazing. I mean, Leicester have got a kind of a place in Brentford history already, irrespective of what happens today. But it's just the FA Cup for me. It just does something. It gets me excited when I wake up on the morning of a round. Even now, even though it's been overtaken in some people's imagination by other events like the Champions League and the Premiership. But Mark, the FA Cup will always be the FA Cup for me. I had the privilege of doing the FA Cup final for the BBC on a number of occasions at Wembley. And of course, you've already mentioned the giant killing things that, not just the Hereford one, but York City beating Arsenal, little Sutton United knocking out Coventry. Do you remember that one in '89? I commentated on that one. I suppose today, if Brentford win, and I know there may be some team changes, but if Brentford were to win, would it be a giant killing? Well, it would be a giant killing, obviously, because Leicester are third in the Premier League, don't get me wrong. But in a way, the expectancy now here is rising. So Brentford start this match with a very, very good chance and home advantage.
You were talking about you've been to the reservation centre this morning and seen everything about the new stadium. In your opinion, Brentford, on and off the pitch, are they now geared for the Premier League?
Without doubt. I mean, a lot of thought has gone into this. I mean, the visitor centre was a very interesting experience for me to watch those videos and to see the young lady there with a pen marking out people's seats. I mean, that is thoroughness. They don't need the stadium to be open for this to be planned properly, and people will find out when it is open and when they go there that they're in exactly the place they want to be. The facilities are going to be, with respect to Griffin Park, because there's only so much you can do with an older ground, the facilities are going to be fantastic. I know two friends of mine who've already bought season tickets. And now, I didn't know this until I spoke to Andy Jacobs on my programme yesterday. Yes. I say my programme, it's not mine. I go in to support Hawksby and Jacobs on a Friday. And the first thing Andy Jacobs said to me is, "Where are you going tomorrow?" And I said, "Brentford." He said, "Yeah." He said, "I've already bought my season ticket there for next season." And he's a Chelsea fan. So there you are. The word is spreading.
Well, that's always good to hear, John. We hope it's going to be a great game this afternoon.
Oh, and by the way, congratulations on your commentaries. I gather you're the match day commentator here every game.
I am, and we've had the joy of calling in some wonderful goals here this season.
I bet you have.
Hopefully there's a few more soon.
A few more today, maybe.
We hope so, as long as they're in the back of the Leicester net.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. Have a good day.
My pleasure. Thank you.